Hi all, I'm May-Lynn and I am really thrilled to be sharing best practices that we at IEC have learned works best in fostering partnerships together. As many of you have been exposed to, we have established together with all of you group values and guidelines, and they're really focused in the areas of inclusivity and accessibility. And that's all about, we want to be sure everyone feels that they're able to fully participate and that they feel valued in our conversations together and the work that we're doing together. So here are the elements that we focus on. Number one, the perspectives of people with IDD are first and foremost. They're primary. So that's where we learn the most and focus on. We also work hard to speak slowly, and it's not easy for all of us to speak slowly and use plain language, but we are striving to do that, and we encourage everyone to do the same. We also want to be sure that we're using language that everyone understands. There is jargon and abbreviations in all of our specialty areas, whether it's healthcare or disability domains, but we want to be sure that everyone understands each other. We also want to give each other time to think and answer. We want to take pauses and be sure that everyone has the chance to feel comfortable, understand, have time to type in the chat or use AAC, whatever works. So pauses are really important. And we don't always do a great job with that at IEC as well. So we are all learning as we go. We also really appreciate and listen carefully to the opinions and perspectives of everyone. So we are thankful for your thoughts and comments, and we welcome them. Again, we welcome all communication preferences. If you're more comfortable going off screen, that all works. Sharing your thoughts on chat or otherwise, or even after meetings, works well for us. We want to encourage you to ask questions or to raise ideas. No questions, no ideas are silly or unwelcomed, because pretty much if one person has a question, then others have that same question. I've experienced that many, many times. So please, please share your thoughts, questions. If you want to reach out to an IEC member directly or another team member, go for it. But we just want to be sure that everyone is sharing what their queries are, what their comments are, and so forth. We also want to remember that we don't always say everything perfectly. So sometimes things don't feel great in the way someone phrases something. So we really want to be sure that we assume good intent. If someone says something that may seem insensitive, we want to give grace, meaning we want to say, why are they a part of this group? It's probably because they really care and they have the same values and interests that we all have. So let's try really hard to assume good intent, give grace or give people a break, right? And let's talk about it. Let's use that as a something that we can communicate and do better with and figure it out. And finally, we really want to be very much open-minded to education about sensitive terminology. And I want to just really call out harmful language. We are all learning about that, and sometimes we say things that feels harmful and we just don't realize it because we come from our own perspectives and we don't have the language. So why is this important? It's important because we are striving to empower all members. We want everyone to feel safe, cared for, and most importantly, have a solid sense of belonging. Feeling like you belong is what matters most. And you all belong with us, and we are grateful to you. We want to also expand our learnings and understanding of diverse perspectives. And that's how we get better and how we achieve our goals. We want everyone to ultimately feel confident and also committed to the shared purpose of what we are striving to do. We want to get our work done as efficiently as possible because we got a lot of work to do and it's not easy and it doesn't come with moving slowly. And we want to be clear and transparent in communications with each other, most importantly, and also with our partners and those that we are trying to move in the direction of making healthcare better for people with IDD. So we really hope that this guide will help everyone feel more comfortable in working in teams together. So let's just think for a minute about our beginnings and how did we start? Well, we, the founders of IEC came from primarily healthcare backgrounds. And as we talked about our efforts and what we were striving to do, we got great feedback, and healthcare leaders said, hey, we really want to help, but we have full-time jobs. So what can we do to make, support your efforts and make healthcare better? Because we want to do that too. We agree, we are enlightened. So we kind of put our heads together with all of you and realized that there was an opportunity to join healthcare leaders, self-advocates, and people with lived experience so that healthcare leaders can learn about what the lived experience means and how they can make it better, because that's critical. And also self-advocates and people with lived experience can also share their learnings and what the best approaches are and what matters most to them. And that's where we are focused. So we are developing, and we have been working over the past 2 years through working groups and burgeoning committees to establish methods for working together in partnership and really creating an insurgence of healthcare, making a difference in healthcare across the country. And that is our charge with IDD Advocate Corps and also with IEC in general. So what does the IDD Advocate Corps do, and who we are? Who are we, rather? We are a group of self-advocates, family members, and healthcare champions. And together we advocate for a healthcare system that partners with people with IDD. And this is obvious, but I just thought it was important to state it out loud. We learn from each other. We teach each other. And inclusivity is critical to sustaining the core. We have a big opportunity ahead. We received some additional funding to expand the core. And we want to be sure that the Corps feels supported, everyone, whether they're healthcare leaders or self-advocates or people with lived experience and family care partners, feel really, really supported. And that's going to be particularly important since we will be moving from the original group of about 20 people last year to 70, and then eventually in the next 2 years, about 250 people. So we really want to be sure that we get really good at supporting each other now. So let's talk about how we can learn and work together best. And really it's about growing knowledge, skills, and confidence. And we can't move the needle if we don't have the core basic knowledge. And from that knowledge of understanding what the needs are, what the healthcare circumstance is, what the people with IDD need the most. Without that, we can't move on to develop the skills to teach others and then have the confidence to scale that in a broad way. So those are the tools that we intend to build through the IDD Advocate Corps. But it's got to start with establishing strong teams and relationships. So what does that look like? First of all, we need to respect each other's privacy. We need to understand the importance of confidentiality. We need to create a positive disability culture because healthcare partners, speaking to you directly, it's been really rough. There have been so many biases, stereotypes, and terrible things that have happened for people with disabilities. So people with disabilities feeling respected, feeling like they're being seen as individuals, respected for their differences, mindful of their own beliefs and values, and people with lived experience feeling the same way, being able to learn the beliefs and values that have been ingrained in healthcare folks, and being aware of how words affect others. So what we are striving for is an openness, learning from each other, thanking people for sharing, and also recognizing how personal opinions can really affect others before we speak up. So what about relationship building? What does that look like? Well, it really starts with the group values and guidelines, and you have seen them numerous times. They are in the part 2 of the deck with tips and tools. But we really hope that everyone can really take some time to take in those values, guidelines, and really think about how it will change the way each of us interact in our work. Secondly, we want to build comfort. We want to build a sense of trust. We want to get to know what matters most to each other. Would love for you all to share why you joined the Corps, what impact you hope to have. What would be helpful for everyone to feel fully included? And then it's about listening, not just listening, but listening to understand. Being patient, not just hearing, but listening and taking in the other's perspectives. Establishing and respecting boundaries are also, again, important. We've talked about that before. And then thanking each other for providing your lived experience and lived expertise and partnering to make meaningful changes. And of course, just saying out loud, most people who have chosen to join the IDD Advocate Corps have a personal reason to be a part of it. So we want to agree on how to work together. If there's a conflict, we want to really address that. We want to be specific. We want to be clear. We want to listen and reinforce. And also, we hope that you will reach out to IEC so that we can be supportive. So we talked a lot about being respectful and fair. We talked about speaking positively about disability. We don't want to censor other people's feelings about their disability, and just being good listeners. How do we support people's personal preferences? Well, we know from our experiences that some people with IDD prefer person first language versus identity first language. But whenever possible, it's best to ask, because it's not a 100% one or the other. So generally speaking, we use person first language with people who have other IDD conditions outside of autism. For example, a person with Down syndrome or a person with intellectual disabilities. But people with autism, we have heard oftentimes that they prefer to be referred to as autistic individuals. Again, ideally, we ask. We also avoid discussion of functionality and severity. So we really ascribe to a place of raising up people's strengths. So we want to talk about people's capabilities and, if needed, what their support needs are. Self-advocates, we really want to be sure that you feel empowered to share with your teammates how they can help you most. Communicate openly, ask questions, share your needs. Teach your healthcare partners, they need the learnings. Help them understand what it's like to have the lived experience of having an IDD, especially as it relates to being in the healthcare system. Be honest. If something's confusing, uncomfortable, or not acceptable, let them know. And that's how we can get and be better. Have check-ins, offer feedback, share updates, talk about your needs and their needs and preferences, because this is a bi-directional relationship, and that is what we're striving for. It's partnership. So we hope that these tools, or not tools yet, these approaches will help everyone to feel supported and included, will promote community building, and will build strong teams, foster shared learning, which is super critical and a primary charge of this work, build skills and confidence, and will form connections that will be there hopefully in the very long term. And we also want to be sure that we have effective communication approaches. We are partners in this together. Again, if issues arise, we've talked about this before. Let's talk about it. Let's work together. Let's give each other grace and reach out to IEC. We are here to support everyone. Hopefully we can assist early in any conflicts that occur, and we are here for you. So how do we prevent and address struggles? We've got some general principles outlined. First, having open, proactive communication. And we've addressed communication over and over in this conversation, but we can't emphasize it enough. Listening and striving to understand each other's perspective, that notion of giving grace, recognizing that we're all here for the same reason is really important. Problem solving, not always easy, and we are here to support that. But most importantly, it's about focusing on finding solutions together, avoiding blame, sharing ideas so that we can prevent issues from arising in the future. Being respectful, avoiding harmful language, and helping each other know what that means and what that looks like. Many of us are not experts in what harmful language actually looks like, and we want to learn. And understanding and reinforcing that everyone makes mistakes. So I think this slide is pretty much an iteration of what we just talked about, but let's really be empathic. Let's encourage each other. Let's try to be calm and respectful. Let's be sure that we're using plain language, offer conversations, be honest. If we're not comfortable, if something's confusing, let's just say it out loud. And let's always, healthcare partners and care partners, let's be sure that our self-advocates feel heard. As we stated in the very beginning, the self-advocate perspective is primary, is most important. And self-advocates feeling heard and empowered is what we're striving for. And finally, and most importantly, let's ask for feedback. How could it have gone better? How can we do it better in the future? If there's a need for mediation and documentation, we are here to offer that. We can also provide training and support on conflict resolution as needed. And we will obviously gather data on any recurring issues that occur and ways that, again, we can improve. And we will update our policies and procedures based upon that information. So finally, we want to thank you so much for watching this video and for reviewing the next version of the video, which is going to be tools and tips for teams. We will be sending out a follow-up survey after the second tools and tips video has been produced and sent to you. And it will really help us to do better, because that's what we're all about. How do we make our relationships and our work, most importantly, better and better to make healthcare better for our partners with IDD and those across the US and the country, ideally. Thank you.